Yes.
Hi, I'm Bill Murray, and this is Gretta Keene. We're psychotherapists with a practice here in Brooklyn, New York. And today is day 7 of the 7-day series we've been doing on 7 steps for using a pause to end a fight. And I'm going to do my best to review them now in order. Having a fight, we call it being activated. And the first step in using a pause to end a fight is to acknowledge that you're activated and call a pause. Sounds easy. It's not so easy when you're in the middle of a fight because your mind is full of the story of how I'm right, you're wrong, you always, I never. But that's when we are saying, step 1, recognize that's happening, call a pause, and then with all that story going on in your head, step 2 is to write it down because it's valuable information that you'll use later on to not only end the fight, but to understand each other better and have a fresh connection.
Right, so that you're not just in your amygdala, in your primitive lizard brain and doing the fight or flight or freeze or fawn. That's the usual habitual. This is how to change it, how to do something different.
Right.
And so to use this activation to get the gold, as you say.
To get the gold. So step 2 is to write down the story. Step 3 then is putting on a different filter, and we call it looking at the activating event as if you were a Martian.
Or a very good detective who wasn't assuming who was the killer.
Right.
Right.
And so the goal we're looking for here is how to describe it without attaching meaning to it. So just going through what was said, where you were, who did what, without ascribing praise or blame to any of it.
Right. There's no anger. It's like you're saying, oh, that critter got very loud and was using a lot of words and got a little red in the face, but you're not saying that critter was angry.
That bad, angry, shaming critter.
Right. Because a Martian wouldn't know that.
A Martian doesn't know what's going on inside your head, as far as we know. Martians may know that.
Maybe they know more than we do.
Yeah, let's not go there. Step 4, then, is identifying your pain points. And you're going to use the description of the actual events of the activation, putting on top of it the story where, and matching the events with the extra activation. Oh yeah, when he said this, I really got mad. That's when I knew for sure that he meant blah, blah, blah. Those are your pain points. And it's important to identify them so you know what are the things that really hurt the most.
Because then you're going to be able to sort of describe it in a way that's actually going to make sense to the other person, right?
Yeah.
And that it'll be with being able to do it from your point of view because you're going to know lots about your point of view.
Right. That's a good point. That what we're doing now is not talking about the truth. Right. You notice that. We're talking about your story.
Right.
And what it felt like inside. So, you know, it's kind of your inner truth, but it's not the truth of what happened.
It's your movie, and they're having a very different movie.
Right.
Right. You may be in Jaws, and they may be in The Wizard of Oz.
That sounds really scary. So, okay, so you've identified your pain points, and now you're going, and then the next step, whatever number that is, might be 5. You're thinking about associations to those pain points, things that happened earlier in your life that really fed a lot of the pain and energy into these things that came up during the activation.
Right, because the past is kind of dialing up what's happening in the present. So if you can kind of identify what's going on in the past, then you just have to deal with it in the present, which is hard enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So you've looked at association to the pain point. This may not sound like a lot of fun up till now, and it's true, it's not. It's hard work, it's draining, it's emotionally taxing. So step 6, I do remember, is relax and get grounded. So we talked yesterday about stretching exercises, and you heard the Tarzan yell and other ways that we let out tension and took in fresh, new, usable energy.
Mm-hmm.
Phew. So now we're at step 7.
How wonderful. Because step 7 is where we really utilize our curiosity about the other person. We've been being curious and compassionate towards ourselves. And now we're going to direct that and say, well, I've been doing all this investigating of myself and what's been going on with me and learning a lot about myself. I'm curious. I wonder what they're writing. I wonder what they're thinking about. I wonder what movie they were in. And so really sort of kind of getting yourself prepared to be curious, right, along with compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the compassion part is important for both your relationship with yourself, and it's also important in sort of moving towards the communication with the other person.
Right. Yeah. So I just realized that I have not put the banners at the bottom of the page today. I really apologize for that. Yeah, didn't get there. So I'm having compassion for myself. That's okay. You'll be able to figure this out.
Right.
So having empathy for the other person and curiosity, getting in touch with your curiosity. Mm-hmm. You're getting ready to share what you've learned. And if you extend curiosity to an interest in what the other person has found out from their investigation, you really extend yourself to see it from their perspective. Mm-hmm. They're much more likely to do the same for you.
Yes.
If you don't want to hear it, if you can't wait, get through it. I don't believe any of that stuff. It's not helpful to me.
Or eye rolling.
Yeah, eye rolling is a killer. But if instead you're engaged, curious, wanting to know, really thirsty to understand what motivates the person that you're in relationship with, that's going to stimulate in them the desire to do the same.
Right.
We hope.
Yeah, and if you can kind of validate, you could sort of say, hey, they've talked to you about what's going on, and it's really different. I mean,
yeah.
We're really different.
Yeah.
We have very different.
You may not have noticed that.
But we are. So it's sort of exciting to go, wow, really? You experienced it like that? Huh. That's so different than how I experienced it.
Yeah.
I was interpreting it completely differently.
Yeah.
And so for you to be able to say to me, huh, you interpreted it like that.
And you know what? This is an important time to say what you can do then is to validate.
Yes,
and say,
that's where I was going.
That's where you're going.
You were reading my mind. You were just like me.
No, I can't read your mind. When you hear something surprising that puts a new spin on it for you, to be able to say, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. If that's how you were understanding it, of course you reacted that way. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're agreeing or that it was useful in the moment or that it's the truth of what was going on. We're explicitly not saying that. We're saying that, oh, I can understand that if that's the sense you made of my words and my actions, no wonder you reacted the way you did. I get it.
Right. Even though it's something that you would never react the same way I would react to something sometimes, right?
Yeah.
It would be quite different.
Yeah.
And you would realize that, I can't even imagine myself reacting that way. But
that's the point.
I can imagine that if you were interpreting it that way, and that's kind of you, that, okay, well, that makes sense, right?
Yeah. So there you can see the opportunities that exist for reconnecting, for learning something new, for bringing fresh energy into the relationship and healing that current activation, instead of having some more destructive conflict where there were things said that are hard to forget, in what you have in its place is a joining, a fresh understanding, and a sense of being more closely connected than before.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of intimacy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and it really, you can start the intimacy even before you talk by sort of doing what we call circles of compassion, where you think, what's the common denominator? And you're thinking, I'm going to have compassion for this person who got activated and is vulnerable, and I'm having compassion for myself because I got activated and vulnerable. And that's a place that we are similar. And start with that sense of compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And then that invites us to talk.
So there you have it. That's the last of our 7 steps that can be useful. And what we've done is put together a PDF that has this material on it with examples and illustrations.
Great illustration.
Yeah, of the critters. You'll meet our star critters.
Right.
And
our avatars.
And underneath, on a separate page, there are fillable forms where you can record your thoughts and feelings that were going on during the activation in different steps that we've been outlining. So this is potentially a very useful tool to help you do exactly what we've been suggesting, which is using a pause to end a fight.
Right.
And you can get a copy of this PDF for free by looking at the URL that's above us here. It's www.mindyourweather.com/pause. And we'll be happy to send you this free ebook, and we'll be thrilled if you use it. And we'd love to hear what your experience is with it.
Yes, it's been really great. I feel sort of sad.
Yeah, I know. Well, it feels like happy trails to you.
They're probably
we'll
too
meet
young
again.
For
I don't remember that. But this doesn't have to be goodbye.
No.
That if you enjoy this kind of live teaching and crazy banter, then there are 2 dates you might want to put on your calendar: the 28th of September and the 5th of October. Those are Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be doing live webinars that include teaching about 3 additional techniques to change toxic fighting into constructive conflict.
Right.
They're things we've used successfully with ourselves and with our clients, and we want to pass them along to you. Free webinar.
With questions and answers. So you'll be able to get into the action here.
Right. The way you can register for the webinar, get the link for the webinar, is either by downloading the PDF or signing up for our blog, be on the newsletter. That's what it is, which you can do on the website. At the bottom of all the pages, there's a place where you can subscribe to the newsletter. So we hope you'll do that, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Yep.
Okay. Take care.
Bye.